On this page, you're going to find some written information about the writer's journey in flash fiction writing. But for this video, let's take a look at flash fiction a little bit of a different way. As you know, when we've talked about expository writing, which is research writing, we're going to have a works cited, we're going to prove our points by conducting research. The other side of that coin is narrative writing, fiction writing, where you make up stories. Now, the trick to flash fiction writing is that you only have a few words to tell your story. So that seems a little limiting, but it's not, because you are going to find the perfect word, the perfect quote. Your characters are going to say the perfect things to make your story compelling. Let's look at the value of flash fiction, and then we're going to go into how to write flash fiction. As we know, the internet is always looking for content, and so I went to Google and I typed in flash fiction contests. Here are just a few of the over 3 million possibilities. The rule of thumb for a flash fiction contest is to make sure that there's no fee for entering that contest. We want to find free opportunities to allow your narrative writing to be published, perhaps. So now, given the popularity of the genre, let's take a look at how we write a flash fiction story. There are no hard, fast rules for how long a piece of flash fiction is as far as word count goes. Typically, people say 1,000 words or less. Some people use 1,500 words. Each one of those contests that I just showed you includes a requirement for the number of words. This repository of flash fiction stories, which could one day include one of your stories, includes stories that are written by people just like you that contain a number of words. So we can see that the general rule of thumb for this particular website is somewhere under 1,300 words. Some of these are very short, aren't they? Now, for our assignment for this course, you will see that I've required a certain number of words. But the important thing to remember when you craft your story, my recommendation is when you have an excellent flash fiction story, write 3 versions of it. One that's in about 250 to 400 words, one that's in 1,000 words, and another one that's in 1,300 to 1,500 words. So you have the same story ready to enter into any number of websites that will abide by their requirements. So the elements of a flash fiction story are that it have brevity. Brevity means few words, whereas it takes me 500 words to say hello. In a piece of flash fiction, I don't have very many words, so I want to make sure that I pick the perfect words. A complete plot, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Can it have a little hook at the end? Absolutely. Set up the sequel. That's what I always say. But it needs to have a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the most important aspect of flash fiction is that there be a surprise. And what is that word called that we just worked on in the assignment? That's right, irony. Something happens that we don't expect to happen. When you look at the tutorial about the assignment that we have for this particular unit, you'll see where I go into more detail about irony and how to include that in the piece of flash fiction that you will be writing. In addition to the information contained on this reading page, you might also want to visit this website, which shows in more detail with additional links what flash fiction is and how to write flash fiction. As you can see, this information is presented in dynamic position. A microfiction plot. Doesn't that sound like fun? That is a short story. And a very short story would be microfiction. So this is an important distinction you can see here. At the core of each flash fiction story is a theme. You remember that we've studied a little bit about theme in this course already. The thing to keep in mind is, why does the reader need to know this story? What aspect of the human condition is explained and expressed and dramatized in this story? Is it never judge a book by its cover? Is it blood is thicker than water? Is it every good boy deserves favor? What is the theme? What is the, I always do the general umbrella of lesson learned, but what is it that is compelling about this story that explains something about the human condition? Each piece of flash fiction will contain and be built around a thematic structure. And here are some of those structures. I call them big umbrellas. And under that umbrella will be a number of themes that relate to love, death and grief, power, faith, beauty, survival, identity, family. So as you think about the kind of story that you might be interested in reading in flash fiction or creating in flash fiction, we always want to start, and all of these flash fiction examples will contain a central thematic structure. Under that large thematic structure, the story will be narrowed down to a more fine-tuned, focused theme: human nature, free will, self-awareness, coming of age. The protagonist starts one place and within a few short words grows up and becomes something else. Hope, jealousy, justice, fear, freedom, friendship, bravery, happiness, passion, kindness, trust, war. So those are some more fine-tuned themes under those large umbrellas. And now the story focus becomes even more narrow, and the characters in this short piece of fiction are confronted with abuse of power. Adultery would, of course, be under the big umbrella of love. And under that big umbrella of love would be family. And under that family would be adultery. Then there's adversity, aging, alienation, ambitions, American dream. These are all lists of themes. You can pause this video and take a look at any of these to see what inspires you for fiction that you would be interested in reading or writing yourself. This is an exhaustive list, and you will find this list also contained later on in the course where we are writing a long piece of fiction. So this first exercise in flash fiction will serve as the foundation for the piece of literature that you will write later that will be a longer narrative. There are lots of ways to create a story, but rather than just going out and trying to make up some story, flash fiction requires the writer to have focused intention for that story and the characters in that story. That concludes this short tour of flash fiction. Please also read the information that is also contained on this page. And remember, flash fiction is a way for your creativity, your ability to understand language and write that language using specific words, phrases, motifs, themes, all kinds of wonderful ways of expression. That concludes this tutorial.